remember what it's like to wake up and feel energetic? Honestly, I don't as well. But before you go and blame it on a hormonal imbalance, as everybody likes to do nowadays, you might want to check your levels of these nutrients that are of crucial importance for proper nervous system function. And I have to put a big disclaimer here. If you choose to go and supplement one of those, please get your blood work done prior to that, since ingesting excessive amounts of some of these can have just as detrimental effects on your nervous system as the deficiency in the first place has. All of the resources that I'm using for the making of the video are linked down in the description box below if you want to read one of them for yourself. I'm going to start off with probably the most important nutrient for women that is very overlooked, and that is iron. Why do I say for women? Women of reproductive age, so from being an adult to entering menopause, need more than double the amount of iron compared to men. This is primarily because of our menstrual cycle, since we lose some blood and some of the iron along with it every single month. According to the World Health Organization, about 1/3 of the women worldwide suffer from anemia. By the way, anemia and iron deficiency are not the same thing. Not everybody who has iron deficiency has an anemia. Anemia is the case where one does not have sufficient amounts of hemoglobin in their blood that transports the oxygen from the lungs to all of the other organs and tissues. And iron deficiency is the cause of around 2/3 of the cases of anemia, but it can also be developed as a consequence of other things. As you can already imagine, iron is also involved in the oxygen transport throughout our body, and it is incorporated in hemoglobin. This is the protein that is present in the red blood cells, and it aids the transportation of oxygen from our lungs to all of the other parts of our body. This, however, is not its only function. It is also involved in the final stage of ATP synthesis in the mitochondria. ATP, if you do not know, this is the primary energy source. Therefore, having sufficient amounts of iron circulating is of crucial importance for the production of energy in our system. As if that wasn't enough, the cells of our nervous system also depend on iron. It is involved in the cell differentiation and proliferation of the nerve cells. If you are not familiar with these terms, cell differentiation is the assignment process of a specific function to a specific cell, and cell proliferation is the multiplication of the cells. Furthermore, the formation of the myelin shield or sheld, I'm not 100% sure, also needs iron. This is the protective layer around our nerve fibers. I'm pretty sure you've gotten the idea that our nerve system needs iron so that it can function properly. So how do we ensure that it gets enough? Iron is found in foods in two different forms, heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron is the one that is found in animal foods, while non-heme iron is largely present in plant food sources. Heme iron, while we usually consume less of it, is more bioavailable to our system and we absorb much more of it compared to non-heme iron. This can be mediated through sufficient consumption of vitamin C, since vitamin C appears to boost iron absorption. Foods of animal sources that contain heme iron include red meat, organ meats, shellfish, clams in particular, while non-heme iron is present in good concentrations in a not very long list of plant sources, but the main ones are lentils, spinach, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, things that you can incorporate in one way or another throughout the week. The food sources are unfortunately quite limited, which 100% contributes to the high prevalence of iron deficiency worldwide. The second and the third nutrient on this list are two vitamins that need each other so that they can exert their functions in our body. The first one is folic acid or vitamin B9. Without this vitamin, the process of DNA synthesis in our body cannot be completed. Red blood cell formation would also be impaired by insufficient amounts of folate in our system. This would result in less oxygen being transported in our body and also more specifically to the brain. However, this is not the only mechanism through which folic acid impacts our nervous system. In our brain, vitamin B9 is involved in the metabolism of two neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. Those two terms, I believe, are not new to you, and you're familiar with their role in mood regulation and motivation. Because of all of this, a folic acid deficiency might be linked to feeling more fatigued, experiencing more brain fog, or feeling more irritable than usual. You might have heard that women who want to get pregnant or who are already pregnant are being usually prescribed to supplement folic acid. This is because insufficient amounts of folic acid can have detrimental effects on the development of the fetus, and the baby might be born otherwise with the so-called neural tube defects. This is not a pretty picture to show in a video, just so you know. This is an impairment of the development of the nervous system. The spine does not develop properly, which of course is critical to this baby's health and survival. I'm under the impression that this specific deficiency is not being talked a lot about, but considering that I don't know a lot of people in general, two that I know were diagnosed with a folic acid deficiency when they went and got their blood work done, which for me indicates some kind of gap in the public knowledge about the importance of this specific vitamin. Fortunately for everyone, folic acid is a bit more ubiquitous in good concentrations in foods compared to iron. From the animal sources, good amounts of folic acid can be found in organ meats and also in eggs. Generally, organ meats are very nutrient dense. This is why one should not overdo their consumption, because they contain a lot of vitamins and minerals, which in excessive concentrations might have some negative effects on our health. They are not destined for daily consumption. Folic acid is present in a lot of different plant sources, such as lentils and other legumes, but lentils have a lot: asparagus, red beets, broccoli, avocado, leafy greens. By the way, lentils are a very underrated type of legume. They contain a lot of different vitamins and minerals specifically. As I was doing the video, I reminded myself that I should be eating lentils more often. I have some, but I don't cook them very often since they bloat me terribly, but maybe if I try to increase the consumption over time, it's going to get better. Let's now talk about the other B vitamin that is involved in DNA synthesis, and that is vitamin B12 or cobalamin. This one, together with folic acid or vitamin B9 and also with vitamin B6, all of them need each other to exert their proper functions in our system. Without vitamin B12, the folic acid that we consume would be trapped in its inactive form. This phenomenon is the so-called methyl trap, where a folic acid deficiency is created although one is consuming sufficient amounts of the vitamin. Therefore, now you would be having two nutrient deficiencies. Going back to our nervous system, vitamin B12, together with iron, are both important for the synthesis and the maintenance of the myelin shield, so the insulating layer of our nerve fibers. And again, similarly to iron, it is involved in the citric acid cycle and our energy production. B12 is not going to be a problem for you, probably, if you're not vegetarian or vegan. It is contained in pretty good amounts in all kinds of animal foods, of course in higher concentrations in meat, in shellfish and fish, in organ meats, but it is also present in some good amounts in eggs, milk, lower amounts in cheeses. If you're plant-based, there is unfortunately no way available that you can consume vitamin B12 through your diet, and one would have to 100% supplement that vitamin in order to be ingesting sufficient amounts, or any amounts for that matter. I'm not going to be covering vitamin B6, although it's involved in the metabolism of these two vitamins here. The reason why I'm not doing it is that it is present in a lot of the foods that this and this vitamin are also present in, along with additional plant sources. Therefore, vitamin B6, although it is of high importance for our overall health, not just our nervous system function, it is also a lot more ubiquitous in the diet as the rest of the vitamins and minerals that I'm discussing today. The fourth element on today's list is one that you hear being promoted for basically everything nowadays, starting off with sleep, for exercise endurance, for concentration, basically everything that one could think of. and this is magnesium. Magnesium is indeed pretty important for our overall health. In the context of our nervous system function and our energy levels, it is pretty essential for our energy production. Again, it all keeps coming down to the citric acid cycle. ATP is largely present as a complex with magnesium together in our cells. A lot of the enzymes that participate in the whole process are also magnesium dependent, and magnesium just has to be there for the process to be completed and so that we have enough energy available for us for the day. I'm trying to not make this way too biochemical or complicated with the risk of coming off as a bit unserious, but in the end it's important that you get it. Going back to the topic, this is not magnesium's only function. It also helps the transport of calcium and potassium across our cells, and it also ensures proper neuromuscular coordination, a good transmission of the nerve signals across our system. And on top of all of that, some research has shown that magnesium might help regulate one neurotransmitter called GABA, which is related to improving relaxation. And when you go further down this biochemical road, this boosts the synthesis of a specific enzyme, which is important for the production of melatonin, which is the hormone that helps us sleep. I found a handful of plant sources that contain good concentrations of magnesium, and those kind of overlap with the other ones I discussed today. Here we include black beans, but also other legumes, pumpkin seeds, leafy greens, cashews. Nuts are very high in different minerals. Dark chocolate as well. From the grains, here we have buckwheat, a lot of different things that could easily be incorporated into a healthy and balanced diet. With pumpkin seeds, for example, one could put a serving in their salad or their oatmeal. I do this with my oatmeal every morning, and this way you are already getting pretty impressive amounts of minerals. I cannot not mention the increased popularity of magnesium supplements, but I just do not know where people get their information as to which type of magnesium supplement is good for which specific thing. I don't know why everybody has such definite opinions about this. I fail to find any scientific evidence that explains to me that this specific compound is good specifically for only this thing and this for the other. I only came across one study which investigated magnesium L-threonate for sleep and did confirm that there was an improvement in the deep sleep and in the REM sleep, and therefore on the next day subjective feelings of fatigue, concentration, etc. If anybody can provide me some sources in the comments, honestly I would be very grateful. Last but not least, we're moving to the final element on today's list, and this is zinc. Zinc is a mineral that plays a critical role again in the formation of some components of our nervous system, specifically the neurons and the synapses. Synapses are the parts where the neurons are connected, like where the signal is being transported, if you're not familiar with that. Additionally, zinc helps regulate our neurotransmitters. GABA is one of those, for instance, the one that we discussed previously, which is connected to relaxation. Apart from the direct functions in the nervous system, zinc is involved in the function of over 300 enzymes in our body, so you can see how its levels are very important for all of our different organs and systems. It also protects our cells from oxidative stress and inflammation. However, excessive amounts of zinc achieved, for instance, through inadequate supplementation, have neurotoxic effects on our system and could lead to permanent brain damage. Our neurons do have some type of homeostatic systems to help regulate the amounts of zinc in our body, but if one overdoes the supplementation, there is no guarantee that one is not going to suffer the negative effects. This is why you will never see me promoting just taking a supplement when you could get sufficient amounts from food products. On the topic of foods, good animal sources include red meats and shellfish, and from the plant-based sources we have lentils. Again, although the absorption could be somewhat limited because lentils also contain phytates, which can bind to zinc and therefore limit its absorption from our system. Other ones are hemp seeds, cashews again that I mentioned for magnesium, dark chocolate, and honestly there are a lot of other ones, but they contain somewhat more negligible concentrations of zinc. To make a short conclusion on everything said today, ensuring that you're getting good amounts of the different vitamins and minerals throughout your diet plays a very significant role in maintaining energy levels, proper nervous system function, good focus, preventing fatigue. All of these play more than one role in our body, and they also need each other so that our system can benefit the most from the sufficient amounts of all of these nutrients. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope that you enjoyed the contents of the video. Let me know in the comments if you did, and if you have a suggestion for a topic that you would like me to discuss. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And also check out my socials and my website, it's down in the description box. I have some additional resources over there, and also my nutrition counseling services. Thank you again for being here, and I will see you in the next one.